Good afternoon to all participants. I am Jaydev Sharma, Joint Director and Head Metal and Mining from ASSOCHAM. It is my proud privilege to welcome you all in today's webinar on automation and modern logistics for Indian steel sector. We are delighted to have Shishil Novalji, Senior VP, JSW Steel with us, Mr. Alan Malik, AD Logistic and Infra, SAIL with us, Shri Jagannathan Rajgopalan, MD South Asia Pesmel Packaging India Private Limited, Mr. Samu from Pesmel, and she's Sameer Bhatnagar, our moderator and partner KPMG in India. Steel has contributed immensely towards India's economic growth. Immense strength, low weight, durability, and ductility at a low cost makes steel the most valuable raw material of the manufacturing sector. In industry, manufacturing industry like steel, automation and logistics are well-known means for improving productivity and efficiency. So whether it is physical transportation of raw material for steel making to the steel mills or physical transportation of finished steel to demand centers, transportation of bulk material is always difficult. So more rake availability and eco-friendly transportation mode like slurry pipeline should be promoted. Adopting digital technology, particularly in the areas of core operations and supply chain management, can improve the profit margins of steelmakers. The steel industry in general, unlike banking and retail, has been slow to adopt digital technologies. Therefore, supply chain management and general automation of business processes remain notable action for the sector. With this word, I would request Mr. Bhatnagar to take the discussion forward. Over to you, Mr. Bhatnagar.
Thank you, sir. This is Sameer Bhatnagar, Partner Transport Logistics KPMG in India. And I warmly welcome all of you to this webinar organized by ASSOCHAM. And I'm privileged to be in the company of such august people from the industry for today's session, which is on automation and modern logistics for the Indian steel industry. Our first panelist for today is Mr. Jagannathan Rajagopalan, who is on the board of Pesmel in India. Just a very quick introduction. He's the Managing Director South Asia for Pesmel India and a Senior Consultant for Pesmel North America. He holds a master's degree in Mechanical Engineering and an additional graduate in Industrial Engineering. He has spent 22 years with the Integrated Steel Plant at Bhilai and Salem and has 22 years of working history in US, out of which 14 years were at Pesmel. During his career, he has been involved in various tasks in maintenance, operation, HR, technical and marketing background. And he has extensive experience in logistics of mills, processes, and finishing lines. And hence, he's been a part of this entire Pesmel solution development and sales and marketing organization globally. With that, I would just like to request Mr. Rajgopalan to present his presentation on the application of automation in the steel industry. Over to you, Mr. Rajgopalan. And there is one more point I would just like to indicate, is that if you have questions during any of the presentation, there will be a facility to type it out in your respective screens. As a moderator, I will be able to view the questions, and how we intend to do it is after the presentation and talk by each of the panelists, I will take up a few questions from the audience and pose it to the panelists and take the discussion forward from there. So that is the format it goes. So I welcome you all once again. Please use the chat window to type out your question. And over to you, Mr. Rajgopalan, for the opening shots. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Bhatnagar. Good afternoon, ASSOCHAM colleagues, steel and metal sector colleagues, industrial leaders, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. It's a unique privilege to present on the topic automation and modern logistics for Indian steel sector, which is an apt topic at this critical pandemic situation, wherein the normalcy and restoration of productivity and economy are the world challenges today. But we being steel men and women, we will be bold and assertive and would find a way to overcome this challenge. In this context, automation and modern logistics would be one of the ideal solutions to tackle this critical situation. Let us take you quickly through two brief presentations, one with a short video on robotics by me and another on ASRS by my Finland colleague, Mr. Samu, Sales Manager. His full name is Mr. Samu Katkanaho. Let me go through the PowerPoint now quickly. I'm sure you are able to see. And see, the modern logistics may look kind of as a puzzle, but modern logistics is nothing but few main aspects, like yard management system automatic is very, people must be familiar today, and most of you are all industrial stalwarts, you must be knowing most of these points. Only what I do is not, I am not taking anything new, I am only just reminding you certain aspects, because we are not let down now in this critical situation. We got many tools, if you want to adapt we can adopt. And people should not mistake that automation or modern logistics for is mainly for saving manpower, but there are many other benefits, and manpower is only about 10%, but even the other things are many aspects. For example, we have yard management system, industry 4, and IIoT. The IIoT is a digital system, and that way the supplier can control the line as well as production from wherever he is. And automatic EOT cranes, my colleague Mr. Samu will explain on this. AGVs, automatic 4-way and 2-way coil cars, and robotic hoist coil lifters, this also Mr. Samu will explain. Automatic robotic packing lines, automatic storage and retrieval system, automatic shipping using manless cranes, and safety PLC and fencing with interactive fence doors. So out of all this, covering all this is difficult in just few minutes, but let me go through quickly what I can do so that I don't grab more time of yours, but at the same time I'm able to be specific to the point. So automatic packing line, one key factor you should know, that packing line is a specific kettle of fish where the unit equipment cost is actually far less, maybe at the ratio of 1:8. And it is a peculiar phenomena that in packing line, the operating cost is about 8 times more than the packing cost. So many times people get deceived thinking that going for a cheap line is better. Actually, going for cheap line, you are paying every day more. So there are well-known companies who ask for the cash flow for 10 years. And if you see for 10 years, the lowest quoted person or lowest costing equipment possibly is the costliest over a period of time because of the life cycle cost. So in a nutshell, the automation means you have to understand there will be saving on life cycle cost. So this curve phenomenally explains that over a period of time, because of life cycle cost, the costlier automation, which we think is costly, is not costly. It is very friendly and dear to us because it is going to be very cheap every day, which is more important. So the life cycle cost is the phenomena used in all developed countries, and nowadays even developing countries adopt this phenomena. So these things show about the advantage of manual packing and the automatic packing, where about the rust prevention, and also about recyclable as well as quickly removable possibilities with regard to automatic packing. So also in automatic packing, you have in situ preparation of all the packing materials, which avoids large inventories. And also you could specifically meter or optimize the packing material so that you don't waste a bit of material. So now the question may come, oh, I can't afford an automatic line. So don't worry, there are step by step you could go. For example, there is a package of semi-automatic packing line which is as good as market cost, and then you could go for an automatic packing line which is a little more than the market cost, but it has got return on investment. And then comes the integrated automatic packing line, which means that all the items are made in the line itself. So there are many advantages which I already told about, including the productivity, safety, and more throughput, as well as standardization and automatic tracking and labeling, and as well as transporting the coils in the process of packing. A quick video will give you. This is the robotic packing being used by, of course, auto body manufacturers in South Korea, supplied by us. And also here, the phenomena is not mainly the concept is more important here. So here, the ID was diagnosed for any interference, and then of course the ID ring is being put, which has been made in situ, and it saves almost like 45% cost. So whatever I share is the technical information, nothing to do with the company, but more to do with the sharing the information, because sharing the information is more important. And that way we come to know that we don't run a relay which others have run in technical aspect, because we should never run and such. We have to thank ASSOCHAM for arranging a conference like this, because people don't run a relay run by others. So this is actually the wrapping, where the secret here is the tight wrapping is more important than the chemical. So if you do it tightly with a servo motor, you don't even need VCI. You can wrap with crepe paper, which is 1/3 of the cost of the VCI paper, but still we have tested and we have found that there is no moisture nor rust in this type of material, which is the real savings. So automation also, and also the servo motors, they save money on the packing material. This is an infrared sealing. So now you see a body wrapping, which is also, the metal is glued with a transparent glue. This video is only about 3 minutes. So this particular one is mainly for protecting mechanical damages, especially in Indian condition. The trucks do have all undulations. And then comes the side disc, which is made in situ. Nothing is kept in stock, so which is a blessing in disguise in this type of automation system. So these robots are 6 or 7 axis robots, and of course it is being videoed at the time of testing and commissioning, so that's why you see a person. So the through the eye strapping is being done, and of course the OD strapping is done. Everything is automatic, only the material to be replenished. Otherwise, there is no operator in this line, which is a bless for this type of season, especially the critical time. Operator is very precious now. I think I should thank you, and I request Mr. Samu Katkanaho, sales manager from Pesmal, Finland, to take over. Please, Samu.
Yes, thank you. Kindly give me the control. Yes. So namaskar. Objective of modern ASR system is to boost the plant efficiency by removing the bottlenecks, to avoid the manual operations and minimize damages, errors and accidents. Objective is also to save on the building, cranes and manpower cost, but at the same time ensure maximum throughput with the quality. So what are then the building blocks for modern mill logistics? ASRS, including the storage racking and the stacker cranes, different type of coil carriage systems, including the 2-way and 4-way coil carriages, moving skids, lowerators, lifters, etc. One important aspect is the interfaces to the production lines. Modern mill logistics includes the full automation of the whole mill logistics. We can feed the coils automatically to the, for example, to the PLTCM, then pick up those coils from the PLTCM, move those to the VIP ASRS, and then by request to the production lines, for example, CAL or CGL lines or whatever. Then from the production lines, direct pickup and delivery to the VIP ASRS or RCL lines or to automatic packing line. And then to the finished goods storage and then directly to the dispatch from there. And no manpower needed. And the whole system is controlled by WMS and gives you the full control, transparency of material and information flow. So high-speed coil cars are complementing the EOT cranes for the faster transportation, distribution, and automatic feeding. Stacker crane is a digitalized vertical crane and is a computer able to identify and track the coils automatically in high speed with more throughput per hour. And it can work up to 34 meters. So the rack-supported buildings consist of a complete racking system that provides the basic structural support for the building's roof and walls. Method of building reduces construction costs, lead times, and minimizes the building footprint. Compact clad racking building is the most economic storage solution when a new building is required, and customers don't need to build any new building. So ASRS is automatic compact storage with automatic tracking, storing, and retrieval system, assuring maximum throughput per hour. And as you can see from these slides, that there are remarkable savings. For example, it utilizes only 15% of the space compared to the traditional layout, 30% of the workers needed, 50% power costs, 26% only for the operational costs. So many remarkable savings. Then a couple of words of YMS overhead crane integration and automation. So the overhead cranes can have 3 steps automation with the YMS. So first, YMS guided cranes, where the YMS gives tasks and the visual guidance for the operators through the HMI. An operator controls all X, Y, and Z movements. Then second, YMS controlled cranes, which is similar, but the YMS controls also the X and Y movements, and Z movement is controlled by the operator. And then third one is fully YMS controlled cranes, where the YMS controls all the movements. So in conclusion, as you can see, there are a lot of benefits of modern logistics: efficiency, throughput, quality, delivery times, no bottlenecks, safe environment. But the thing is also that it's flexible and expandable system. So you can expand that in modules and phases. So you don't need to invest all at the same time. So now I will show you a typical video of modern logistics. Just a second. So here the YMS is controlling the HR coil yard and the overhead cranes. So the coils are unloaded from the rake and then to the coil yard, and then moved to the buffer skids along the bay, from where our 4-way coil car is picking up the coil and delivering that directly to the PLTCM walking beam conveyor. And after the PLTCM, we will our 4-way coil car will pick up the coil and deliver that along the bay where you have the buffer skids. So this is complementing the overhead crane system. And here you can also see that there is no manpower needed. Only you have some workstations back there when you need to do some changes. And it's the same in the VIP area. And after the VIP area, our coil carriage, now the 2-way coil carriage with the turning function, is feeding the coils automatically to the packing line. And here you can see the turning function. So we have different type of coil carriages with turning also. It comes with the weighting, etc. So, and all of these depends of the customer layout and customer requirement. So here there was an interface stand, and now the four-way coil carriage is delivering coils to the packing line. So then after the packing line, packed coils are picked up, and then they goes to the ASRS system. So now you can see that there is also a turning coil stand which has also the lowerator, so we can take care of the level differences in the site as well. So two-way coil car picks up the coil, and as you can see also there is these special pads on the coil car, so we hold the coil like a baby in the cradle, so there is no damages to the coils. So here we have the four-way coil carriage along the ASRS delivering the coils, and this is the stacker crane and telescopic fork will pick up the coil and then delivering that to the designated storage locations, which is automatically done by our WMS. This is like a bookshelf. And then when outfeeding, the coil is transferred to the outfeeding place. In this case, there is a moving skid. There could be also a four-way coil car or two-way coil car. And from this moving skid, the overhead crane will pick up the coil for rake dispatch. Okay, that was my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Samu.
Yeah, thank you, Samu, and for that two lovely videos. I'll now move on to Mr. Ellen Malik, Executive Director from SAIL, looking after logistics and infrastructure. Just a very quick introduction to Mr. Ellen Malik. Mr. Malik has been working a long time in SAIL and has worked across major functional departments, stores, purchase, coking coal import, shipping and logistics, contracts, and has worked very closely with railways, ports, and central and state agencies. He's a postgraduate from JNU New Delhi and GDMM from IIMM Bangalore and an MBA in HR. Mr. Malik joined SAIL as a management trainee in 1983 and has rapidly risen through the ranks and is now as Executive Director Transport and Shipping. He has attended programs organized with British Steel UK in 1995 and specialized management program on sustaining business excellence for senior executives by MDI Gurgaon. He's also attended programs in France, Spain, and Germany in 2010. He has toured Australia and Singapore very recently in 2018 as a member of a team of 6 senior executives of SAIL and RINL to study imported coal scenario and how to improve the raw material sourcing. Welcome to the panel, Mr. Malik, and glad to have you today. I have two questions for you. One is in the area of automation and the other is in the logistics, the two topics for the panel today. So the first question, sir, is India has a very ambitious target of reaching 300 million tons of crude steel production as part of its National Steel Policy 2017. And clearly such a large growth in production would require significant automation. So in this scenario, we've had a lot of look about the application which Pesmel talked about. But where do you see the top 3 applications for automation emerging to facilitate such a significant increase in production? Mr. Malik, over to you.
A very good afternoon to all the panelists and the organizers, as well as the 77 attendees of today's webinar. It's a proud privilege that ASSOCHAM has given us. To take, I will blend the question, the answers to Mr. Samir Bhatnagar in my talk while I'm talking, giving my brief, a little bit analysis on the logistics scenario. I'll be coming to automation later on because Mr. Jagannathan Rajgopalan Pesmel has already given the automation. So as a logistics person, I will tell you that friends, as we have just entered into the phase unlock 1.0 from lockdown 4.0, the challenge is that any logistics professional that today he is facing in the country is immense. The challenges that we faced during the lockdown period was nonetheless was vast. And today, when the unlock one situation is there, when the economic packages has been declared by Government of India, when Government of India is going to invest huge money into the infrastructure projects, and that everybody is looking upon the steel industry as this is one of the barometer of Indian industries development. So how the steel industry is coming up from this hit that it has taken for last 2 months is a thing to be seen. And here in this phase, the challenges that are posed for logistics professionals, the people who are in logistics, is immense. And to tell you just give you the volume in a steel industry, for any 1 ton of 1 unit of input output, we need almost 3 units of output. So when SAIL produced around 16.15 million ton of steel in the year 1920, becoming the largest steel producer entity in the country, it moved almost 76 million tons of cargo through Indian Railways. So for a product of for a production of 16 million ton of steel, we had to move 77 million ton of volume of cargo. So that is the volume of cargo of logistics that we need to do. When India, against a backdrop of 16.15 million ton produced by SAIL, India produced 108.5 million ton steel in 1920. 108.5 million ton means almost 850 to 900 million ton cargo we have moved. And with this cargo movement only in steel sector, it seems the entire logistics chain of the country is choked, is congested. Every day we are running around to manage our logistics chain, to manage the supply chain. So the challenges are huge. And when we are talking about 2030 scenario, when we are, the Government of India in its National Steel Policy 2017 has declared that India aims at producing 300 million ton of crude steel by 2030, in another 10 years time, and out of which sales share will be almost 52 million ton. The challenges that a logistics professional will face to move these 300 million ton into almost 1200 million ton plus cargo is huge. So what we expect is that, as I have been given by the organizers to throw upon the scenario of logistics that will be coming for 2030 scenario, the challenges are immense. Government of India is taking a lot of steps to improve the logistics scenario. Let me first come to railways. Indian Railways is the lifeline of steel industry. But in fact, for SAIL, it's a 95% rail coefficient organization, where we are moving from 78 million ton of cargo, we have moved around 76.9 million ton of cargo through Indian Railways. What we are looking at Indian Railways, the existing rail structure, the track modification, the axle load increase, all these things have to go on simultaneously. But the answer lies in the dedicated freight corridor. Dedicated freight corridor, which Indian Railways is thinking of having 5 DFCs of around 7,545 kilometer, out of which the eastern dedicated DFC and the western DFC are in the are almost in the final stage. Maybe it will take another 1 or 2 dedicated for freight corridors, from which the east coast dedicated freight corridor is of maximum importance to the steel industry. This will have a corridor from Kharagpur to Vijayawada, where all the imported cargoes, the maximum steel plants that are located in the eastern side of India, they will be connected through this to the rest of the country. So the expectation from Indian Railways or from Government of India is, the expectation of the logistics industry is, all these DFCs, particularly east west, which are on progress, as well as the east coast DFC, must be finished by the time we come up with 300 million ton of steel. Otherwise, moving these materials, whether it is input or output, will be a difficult process, will be impractical almost. And not only making DFCs, the feeder line, the feeder routes that are there to these DFCs now, those need to be upgraded. There has to be new feeder routes that need to be created. And DFCs with its average speed of 20 to today's average speed of a freight carrier from 24 kilometer to 65 kilometer. DFC's one rake carrying from 5,400 today to 13,000 ton in one train load, with 66% height increase and 14%, almost 14 to 15% width increase. It is definitely going to be a game changer. So DFC is ultimately the answer from railway sector for this logistics challenge. If I come to the port sector, if we see that today all the ports are extremely congested. I have already told that the steel industry is basically clustered in the eastern part of the country. And in eastern part of country, we have very few deep draft ports, meaning thereby the capable sea ports are few, and the main dependence is on riverine ports. The main dependence is with a draft ports with draft of around 14.5, which can take maximum Panamax vessels. But when we are going to increase our steel production, we will be, in spite of all talk about increasing dependence on indigenous coking coal, the fact that we have a very limited natural resource of coking coal, we have to, even if we depend today's from 80-85% coking coal imported coking coal person, even if we go to 65 or 70% of imported coking coal, but the volume will be huge, and all those volumes need to be handled at the ports. So the development of ports, upcoming of new ports, particularly deep draft ports on the eastern sector, whether to, we can talk of Tajpur, which is in a conceptual stage right now, those things has to come up. The existing ports need to be mechanized, their port areas need to be increased, the handling facilities need to be increased, number of berths must be increased, because it's not only these ports by 2030 will not only be handling imported coking coal, they will be also handling so many cargoes of so many industries, because it's not that only steel industry is going to develop, it's simultaneously a all-round development, industrial development. When it takes place, the other sectors will develop, and their cargo need to be handled by these few limited ports facilities that we have today. So the port sector must develop, and the port-led infrastructure must be there. There has to be say the coastal economic zones we are talking about in the Sagarmala development project. These things must now see the light of the day. The ICDs, the CFAs must have rail connectivity. The port-led development must have units where the conversion, the packaging, the value addition, all these things can be done to the steel, so that not only they will do the coastal shipment possible, the exim cargo possible. We talk a lot of emphasis is being given for coastal shipment as well as internal waterway authority and all these things. So steel industry has got a very limited utility as far as IWAI is concerned, because we are the rivers, there must be perennial flow, the minimum draft must be ensured. Yes, government of India and the state governments in PPP model are going to invest a lot of capital into it, and in another 10 years time this inland waterway must also happen, because this NW1, NW2 and NW6 that carry maximum possibility, maximum potential, because that can connect the northeastern states which are now connected through a Siliguri link. That congested link can be widened. Already government of India has entered into Indo-Bangladesh protocol route through which we can approach Tripura, through which we can go to northeastern states. But all those things must be developed as far as the infrastructure is concerned, the deepening of the draft is concerned, the handling facilities, all these ports must have, because steel again needs a different type of specialized handling facility in the ports. So any conventional mode of handling for general cargo will not suffice for steel industry. If steel industry has to look upon use of coastal shipment, whether to move steel from east coast to west coast or southern coast, whether to move steel to northeastern states, all these coastal movements, all these inland waterways have to develop, have to be carried through proper infrastructural, perennial and sustainable development. Otherwise, it just cannot be a one-time solution. It has to be a sustainable solution. For that sustainable solution, again, we must have a mindset to accept the multimodal transport. Today it's a single modal transport. SAIL is carrying its input raw materials from ports or captive mines to steel plants through rails, and from steel plants to different sectors of the India across the country through rail. If we have to depend on multimodal transport, then Indian Railways must give a lot of concession, lot of priority for the coastal shipment cargo to ports. The ports must also increase the concessions, must increase the facilities. They must have separate berths, separate handling facilities for the coastal cargo. Coastal cargo, they must have separate yard for aggregation of the coastal cargo. 3,000 tons, it can move by a rake. It has to minimum 20,000 tons or 25,000 tons to move by a barge or a mini vessel. So to make it economic, again, the coastal shipment needs a totally different approach, different treatment by not only the steel industry but also the port sector, the Indian railway sector. If I come to the Indian roads that we have, well, for steel industry it may not have much of use, but today we are using Bangladesh protocol, Bangladesh Petrapol border route for our export to Bangladesh. All those road infrastructure we know very well. All that road infrastructure has to develop. So all these developments, all these infrastructural developments has to take place in a speed, in a proper speed, so as to synchronize the 300 million ton of steel production dream into a reality, as long as the logistics service providers are concerned. Coming to the last part, the automation part that you had asked me, well, without automation, there we just can't survive. There is I can just broadly say, in the production process, we can think of this industry 4.0 as a process automation, where the condition based monitoring is there, where the equipment maintenance, all these things can be scheduled. And in the management, we can have the automation in the digital data bank, whether it is big data, whether it is data mining. All these can analyze the huge data that is available, and can help the management in making the decision making process. This is the production industry 4.0 for management decisions, digital data banks, and for logistics, for the supply chain management, the RFID technology, the technologies that Pacemail has now just presented, all those things are required. The RFID is one of the major thing that can change the performance of any logistics professional, whether it is a container, whether it is a movement of a parcel, a loose parcel, whether it is a movement of a truck, trailer, tanker, or even a rake, train rake. The GPWIS rakes are going to be fitted with RFID. So these are the basically, I can tell you, these are the three automation processes in the field of production, supply chain management, and management process. Those are required, and people will be looking towards those solutions to make the industry successful. For any manufacturing industry, it's a long run battle, I can say, and we can come out victorious only when we join hands. We talk not from a silo system, rather we talk in a collective manner. Thank you, ASSOCHAM, for organizing this webinar.
Thank you so much, Mr. Malik, and thank you so much for the passionate and extempore way in which you presented. Clearly, your experience with every field comes across so strongly that without so fluently, you've kind of spoken about the entire range and covered both my questions. The second question was, of course, for the benefit of the attendees, was to request Mr. Malik to shed some light on what should the government do to ease of logistics, which I think he's covered every mode, coastal, ports, rail, road, multimodal, very effectively and efficiently, including the northeastern and inland waterways. It's a relatively new concept. And thank you so much for your thoughts on the automation in the production plant. Thank you so much, sir. I understand, sir, that you have another pressing commitment and you will need to exit.
Yes.
So
I want to be excused. If there is any question relating to sale and all, Mr. Manas Bose, Mr. Prabir Dan, two of my senior colleagues are now linked to this thing. They can answer that. I really thank all of you. I beg excuse from Mr. Susil Nawal because I can't listen to him. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you so much, Mr. Malik. Namaskar.
Thank you.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Nawal, and thank you so much for joining us. You've and I come to you from the private sector side in terms of steel production. You've seen automation, you've heard sales. We understand. So you have a brief presentation. Would you like to start that, and then maybe then I can take a couple of questions for you as well, sir.
Yes, sir. Please make this presentation sharing.
Anup,
In the meantime, any panelists or any attendees, if they have questions, please do post it there so that I may be able to kind of look at it and present it to the panelists. Please feel free to share your questions.
Shall I start it?
please,
Yes, sir. Please
Or
go
we'll
ahead.
wait for questions. Yeah, good afternoon to panelists, organizers, and attendees. And we are thankful to organizers and ASSOCHAM for providing this opportunity to speak on subject matter. Before
Excuse me,
speaking
sir.
on the subject of today.
Sorry,
Yes,
sir. I am. My apologies, Mr. Nawal. I forgot to introduce you in the changeover to the presentation. So please give me a minute to introduce you to all our attendees today. Apologies once again. Mr. Sushil Nawal is the Senior Vice President Planning and Logistics with JSW Steel Limited. He hails from Pilani in Rajasthan, and he started his career more than 32 years ago in the marketing department, where he spent 15 years. He relocated to the Vijayanagar works in 2002 and then to logistics in 2004. He is currently heading planning and logistics of the largest integrated steel plant in India with a 12 million ton capacity currently. He's responsible for production planning, inventory monitoring as head of planning, and he's also responsible for inbound raw material and outbound finished good and secondary logistics with intra-plant steel and hot metal movement responsibility. He handles over 200 wagons daily and over 700 vehicles on a daily basis. Uh, he strongly believes in combined team of work, practical solutions, and brings in a special talent of remembering names at one go. He has done significant work on handling logistics costs and has reduced it by 5 to 10% and relative savings of over 1,500 crores by optimization and system controls in the last 5 years. So, a very illustrious career coming from again from a production background, long time in the field, but still pushing for innovation and probably one of the most challenging areas, which is logistics and planning for the largest integrated steel plant in India. Over to you, Mr. Nawal, and thank you once again for joining us today.
Thank you, Samirji. And once again, good afternoon, everyone. I'll just brief about JSW very short. JSW, other than steel, we are in energy, cement, infrastructure. We have our own ports as well as latest entry of our paints last 2 years basis and other verticals. If you see our plants in India is at Vijayanagar, at Dolvi Works and Salem Works, where total capacity is 18 million ton with the downstream facilities at Wasin, Tarapur and Kalmeshwar in India. Our products and application is for HR coils, cold rolled coils for automotive, color coated and galvanum for roofing and cladding, then TMT and wire rod. As per World Steel Dynamics, JSW ranked 7th among world-class steel makers in 2019 based on 23 parameters, which we are maintaining this position in between 5 to 7 in last 10 years. At overall total capacity of 18 million ton, but 12 million ton at a single location capacity plant at Vijayanagar, which is the single largest plant in India and world's 6th largest steel plant. And as of now, it's 12 million ton. By 2022, we have plans to add 5 million ton additional capacity. So it will be 17 plus 1 efficiency increment, 18 million ton at Vijayanagar. At Dolvi, as of now, we are having 5 million ton capacity, which we are adding 5 million within next 4 to 5 months time. So it will be 10 million ton. By 2022, all put together, our 3 plants will be 30 million ton capacity other than our acquisitions and mergers. At Vijayanagar, especially of rail network, if you'll see, because of the volumes and bulk raw material and as well as outward which we are handling. We have the rail network inside the plant of 190 kilometer, where we can handle per day. We are doing as of now 40 trains per day with the loading and unloading. And we have capacity of 50 number of trains inside the plant. With the infrastructure of inward, like the raw material receipt yards, we have the 35 rail tracks, and we are having signaling and telecommunication plus hot metal movement through the torpedoes. And outward infrastructure is very strategically we have planned since inception, that our manufacturing units we have as of now, like flat is 4 units, it's 2 HSM, 2 CRM and 2 bar mill, 2 WRM. All units are connected with our rail connectivity nearby the after production line, because after producing, when it is packed, it need not to be transported from there to here transfer. It's just loaded for customer. It will be delivered to the customer the way it is packed at plant intact position, so that it will save cost, it will save time, and it will add value to the customer as well as to the company. Business plans for 18 million ton. As of now, at 12 million ton, we are moving 55 million ton of cargo with 38 number of trains average per day. Whereas at 2022, we are aiming 82 million ton cargo with 45 number of trains. This Vijayanagar plant is having the capacity of 24 million ton, which we can make it. Even though after 18 million ton, the plans are we have our preparations for that. If board approves and the management approves, then we can go up to there, and that time our requirement will be 110 million ton of inward and outward material with 54 number of trains per day. Apart from this will be 30 million tons will be the pipe conveyor and 10 million ton of slurry pipeline. Then balance 80 million ton will be moved by this 55 number of trains. Already before pandemic also, global competition was there, and now we all steel industry together must see new ways and means to address the challenges to sustain in present economic crisis. That's why today's topic is appropriate. And now I'll brief about ongoing initiatives of automation and modernization in logistics at JSW Steel. It's about modernization. Our first project, which we have already done in 2019, March 2019, it's done by Messrs. Macbeth Erection. They have built our conveyor system, pipe conveyor with the length of 21 kilometer, and with this last year we have moved 4 million ton raw material of iron ore from mines to the plant, and this year its plan is around 11 million ton to move from there to here. Our ratio of road, rail and pipe conveyor, last year it was 94% was railroad and 6% was pipe conveyor, but this year it is 50% pipe conveyor and 50% will be road and rail which was 30, it will be only 10%, because only the challenge in this case that the vehicles is engaged by the local people, and we would like to see for them some alternate arrangements, because we don't want to make the problem for them, because it's their livelihood. So we are looking some alternate alters for them, how they can survive other than this, so that we can engage them other areas. So this pipe conveyor, if you'll see, 1 minute. You'll see this panoramic view of the actual pipe conveyor system, which is coming 21 kilometer from mines to the plant, and it is saving around 13,000 tons of CO2 emission, which is when we'll move 18 million ton next year. This year we are moving 11 million ton material from mines to the plant. One more initiative, when we are in this, Mr. Malik was briefing us about the 300 million ton movements and all this answering questions of Samir sir. The Honorable Prime Minister's vision of 300 million ton capacity of India by 2030. That time, because of today's movement, that time it will be around 1.2 billion raw material and finished goods needs to be moved only by the steel industry. And we feel that that time the railway wagons availability will be the constraint. Looking that thing, and as on today's wagons, when we are loading of railway wagons, there is a high unitization and palletization cost with heavy idle freight and damages. Looking that, we have come out with the solution, and we discussed with railways and RDSO. We are really thankful to them that they have handled with us, and they have given the fast clearances of all everything at all steps about design and development of a special train for steel transportation, which will be first of its kind in India by JSW Steel. And with this, like one train as of now, which is moving 2,700 tons per train, that will move 4,000 tons, additional 45% throughput, and higher quality, safe and faster material handling will be done with this number of trains. And if you see the, as of now, the efforts which is put up by the workers when they are loading the existing trains, they are going inside and then they are arranging the woodens, they are putting the welding angles, hook, and then strapping, palletization, all everything in different shapes of like horizontal position, then the vertical loading or tilting, all everything. These things will be eliminated when these rakes will be in place for loading. Then this is one more story. This is the rake which is at our manufacturer's place. Already it is made 10 number of wagons. Our 6 number of trains already we have ordered with the our manufacturer, and it will be in on railway tracks, Indian Railway by before December 2020. And we have plans for these number of trains, 25 numbers in next 2 years time, and balanced around 10 more trains by 2023. And this way, this can be ease out the situation that with this our own trains, when we can make our own trains, it will be support to the system overall, to the railways, to the nation, to the industry, to JSW also. If the material is coming, for example, reverse side, if it is coming from some other peoples of steel, it can come in that. So with this, we can be in a position to move at least 10 million ton of our own steel transportation. Second solution of this modernization that we have done, as Mr. Rajgopalan was explaining, and we have done in our CRM2, where the vertical HR coil storages place is there, where occupies 25% of the space compared to the ground storage. And we can keep at here around 20,000 ton stock, which retrieval is so fast. By giving the command in system, it can give in our basis 20 number of coils retrieval can be loaded faster to the trucks and to the trains. One more that solution which you are looking through automation in monsoon packing. In a year, 8 months, we are moving our CR material packing by doing the automation by monsoon packing. And that we are going now in the automation mode, where it can improve further turnaround time and safety of the product. Digitalization also is the main platform which needs to be moved faster, and this can really help us in this scenario. That if you'll see at our Vijayanagar, that we have planned our 3 initiatives of digital mode faster to implement within next 4 to 6 months time, so that we can get benefit of that. Like the road transport management, as of today, we are doing through the SAP system. And if the truck vehicles coming to the parking, then they are coming inside, they are going to the loading point, and again they are going back to the gate out. So this is again, it's the SAP system basis, plus sometimes it is in some manual mode also. Looking that now it's a digitalized mode of finished goods movement, and in that this digitalized will be from again parking to gate out, will be based on CCTV, computer vision, plus app based approval, so that we can get benefit of that operations, online tracking and paperless process can be achieved on our all finished goods movement, where every day we are loading 500 wagons of steel, and per day we are loading 500 number of vehicles per day, 10,000 tons of dispatches of steel, other than secondary of slag and other items. Next is about digital logistics control room. The problem was that as of now, because of the spread of our operations across the length and breadth of the plant, it's in kilometers, then there's a critical information and there's no live monitoring. Looking at the solution of that, we are now setting up our logistics control room, where the online monitoring of yards and functions can be done, and it can be see that all our KPIs can be measuring KPIs can be viewed from there itself. If we see that like our any KPI related to our inbound, in plant and outbound operations, that all KPIs start with idle freight, whether PTPK or delivery compliance and equipment availability, can be measured, can be live tracking real-time basis. It can be seen, and the analysis of that, like coming of analytics, and based on that analytics, faster decisions can be taken to control and to make the efficient operations point of view. So this also is the process, is in process. Within next 6 months time it will be operational. The IoT based modular wireless train operations. If you see the business problem, that we are having 190-kilometer rail track inside the plant. From one track to another track, there is a points and crossings of 360 numbers. Sometimes it is derailments because of the manual operations of the points changing from one track to another. Looking that we have already progressed in last 5 years about signaling, SNT, SSI, SNT. But with that, even now we have worked out with the IISC, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and they are now come up with us about our IoT based train operations and information system. It is the alternate of SSI, SNT. It is no building cost, no hardwiring is required, and this will be the 50% of the cost of this. The SNT cost is very huge. If we go for like even 4 to 5 kilometer, 1 to 2 kilometer area, it costs approximate 15 crore rupees. Then this IoT based will be hardly cost us on to 4 to 5 crore rupees. And we are working on this at early. I think we'll be in a position. Already it was supposed to be started, but due to pandemic, it is delayed. When the situation will be new normal, that time will be in operational on this part. Now, my sincere thanks to all every attendees, and I invite whoever interested to work with us and to guide us what way we can do better together. Can you contacted me in any time about this thing? Please, thank you.
Thank you, Sushilji, for a very wonderful presentation which talks about innovation that you've undertaken, especially working with railways and on the railway movement, sir. I have two questions for you, sir. And I think one is on logistics again, and the other one is on the plant use infrastructure. Mr. Malik talked about in his discussion about coastal economic zones and port infrastructure. And JSW has the unique distinction of having two steel plants, one on the coast, which are doubling, and the other one is the largest steel plant integrated, which is in the hinterland and right in the middle of both coasts, right in the middle of, right, between Kerala, between Karnataka and the other coast, right? So the question was, given the situation with the logistics costs and the mines in the hinterland, does a coastal location play a very important role for a steel plant? And hence, do we see from a logistics perspective to have plants closer to the mines, or make sense more closer to the coast, given we want to expand our production to 300 million tons in 10 years, a lot of domestic, but a lot of exports also being planned, and coastal shipping, etc. planned. So if you can give some perspective, sir, on location of a plant from a logistics perspective.
If we see about Dolvi plant, we are at there. So we are sourcing our raw material of iron ore from eastern part. Then we are facing the issues like Mr. Malik was talking, that the ports are congested. And then getting the rigs at there, then via port, if it is coming from port of Paradip and port of Dhamra to the Vijayanagar, Dolvi port, then also it's difficult to move it. My saying is this, that it depends on the volume of cargo transported, mode used for transportation, and location from where raw material sourcing is done. For example, if it is a steel company sourcing raw material from foreign part, then if it is a coastal boundaries are there, then it's better to nearby the coast. But if the cargo is coming from the internal only inland resources, then there will not be much need to set up the plant near coast. As of now the progress will take place when the Sagarmala project will come. India is having 7,500 kilometers of coastal length, where the Japan and China, they are also having, but their transportation through shipment is through coastal movement is at least more than 50%, where our is hardly below 10%. So looking these things, when in future, when we'll be next 10 years time moving forward about coastal more movement, it will support us, whether it's a hinterland or it's a coastal plant. So this way, both way it is. It depends on situation to situation. From where you are importing, we are getting the sourcing the raw material.
Second question, sir, being that you've done quite a bit of innovation both on the digitization and on the railway rigs, and you're ordering your own rigs. But we also looked at that when we look at automation and building infrastructure, a lot of infrastructure either on PPP basis or when you talk about deep draft ports, etc., including the discussion around putting up handling centers and logistics centers. Which could be common user facilities. But do you see the cooperation between the, and Mr. Malik ended it in that manner by saying that you should not operate in silos, but do you see an opportunity for the steel players, though they might be competing with each other in the marketplace, to really come together to look at how they can jointly build some of the infrastructure, because it's expensive and and because like we saw in the telecom industry in Europe, that when the telecom tower infrastructure became expensive, especially for the 4G rollout, they started sharing towers. So do you see something like that in terms of the steel players, though they might be competitors, to cooperate and come together to set up some of the logistics infrastructure in the country and share their best practices with each other and facilities, etc.?
Yeah, Samir, definitely, because as of now, for example, like latest 6 months back, this KMERC in Karnataka, in Sandur area, they are building the railway siding to eliminate the road movements to the rail movements. It has to come as per the directions of Honorable Supreme Court. So we are sharing our rail track with them. We have our own rail track connectivity, our own siding of JSW Nandi Ali of 11 kilometer, and they are taking after 8 kilometers some diversion. So we are sharing with them that yes, it's a nation building activity, and if it is their facility, it has to be utilized by everybody. And these kind of things definitely our welcome for industry point of view. Wherever strategic alliances will be there with the competitors will be made, but the situation is coming like this way, that one thing that we should not see as far as the this capacity expansion is coming. India is growing, the steel producer is going to make the productions, then we should not see all expectations from the government of India and from the Indian Railways. I think this is the time for the industry stalwarts, industry leaders to come of steel that is specific, that they have to build the facility, and this can be usable for more of the small players. They can be allowed like ancillary kind of things, all these things. But the bigger player has to come to build something which can be useful for every industry, especially for the steel sub sector, because that can only help. Like today's condition, when we are making any facility wherever, and we are looking that facility is very big, but after 3 years we are finding that that facility is very small for us now. So looking those things, that our capacity expansion point of view, each plant, each industry player has to come up with very big plans to at least execute out of their some margins, that it has to be built long term sustainable, so that 300 million tons can be easy way can be handled by the all industry processor. And definitely we are welcome for that, any movements which will come, like the logistics policy of the state governments and national logistics policy is there, and logistics hub and park, it's all, everything is coming. Even like the solutions which is coming, government saying that they are coming up with the one primer can move 3 trailers at a time, like it's a mini train. One primer will transport 3 trailers at a time. So for that we have to make our like so logistics hub outside our peripheral. Like my plant is in Bellary, I have to make 50 kilometer away some logistics where the 3 trailers at a time from Delhi it is coming loaded and it is unloaded there. Those 3 trailers single can come to the plant again going back. So those initiatives has to be executed by all individual industry, and definitely wherever the strategic location, strategic sharing of facilities required, we welcome for that, sir, as JSW.
Samir, you are
Samir,
muted. You are
you are
muted.
not audible.
Not audible now. Audible, sir.
Not out, not now. You have to put your mic on, Mr. Samir. Anup, kindly ask him to put on the mic, maybe.
Yes, sir. We can call him, sir.
Yeah. Kindly ask him.
Yes, yes, it's coming.
Kindly text him or so.
Your mic is off, Sabirji. Okay.
Now?
Now it's okay.
Okay, great. So I think technology, and this is really where my question comes in for Mr. Rajgopalan. Actually, sometimes technology doesn't work, and it was working brilliantly. Everybody could hear me all the time, all my long questions.
Yeah.
So that's exactly my question.
Yeah.
What challenges do you see implementing Industry 4.0 and such advanced automation technology solutions in India? Given I've just given a demonstration that the same system is working for an hour, stopped working into a simple audio this thing. It's not a small joke, but yeah. What are the practical challenges you see of implementing Industry 4.0 in India?
Yeah, see, it's a taboo. People think that automation may fail and the people will not fail. It's not wrong. See, it's actually, it's all concept. People who have not been experienced, they always feel like that. I'll tell you one simple example. You see, of all the travel modes, okay, the car is driven manually, the train is driven partly manually, the plane is driven totally automatic. The safest travel in the world today is only the plane travel, because if you see the casualties and other things, the plane, though there might be some accidents once in a way, everything is automatic, whether it is pitch or whether it is roll, whatever the operation is done by the plane, all are automatic. So automation is always friendly, and automation has to be understood. You got to have the reflex to understand, and also you have to be standardized. So the issue is getting standardized is difficult, so people blame on automation. So you have to standardize your system, then automation is like a cake. But if you don't standardize, automation is taboo. Did I answer you?
Yes. Any other factors you see a challenge in terms of the cost economics of adopting these automation solutions in India? Because typically I've seen when it comes to some very simple automation, there's typically a trade-off of manpower versus the cost of automation and the life cycle cost of technologies. Do you see that also a challenge? And third is, do you see a challenge in terms of skills of implementation or any weather-related challenges when you talk about some of these technologies being used in the Indian hot, humid, dusty conditions that many of these plants work on?
Yeah, see, one thing is with regard to dust and the bad environment. See, there are specific features. For example, what can affect dust? What it can affect? It can affect the sensors. Okay. For example, whenever we are asked to make some storage arrangement or handling of hot roll coils, the hot roll coils invariably have scales. In fact, stainless steel coils have got more scales, and the steel coils have got scales depending upon the composition, because the down coiler temperature is around 635 to 700 degrees. There are scales. So now this forms dust. So there are frequent cleaning devices for the sensor automatically, and there are developments. So unless, see, they say the crisis is the catalyst for progress, including this pandemic. Okay, so that way this dust and all these things are not issues for automation. The corresponding solutions are available. Okay, so that way the dust part of it I took care of. What was the other question you had?
the skills with the engineers here to manage and run this? And last point is around the cost economics for such automation solutions.
Yeah, good. Now the cost economics I go. That is a very vital thing. See, now automation is always a staircase. So the issue comes when you want to go from the ground to the top immediately. It is not possible even for the richest company. Okay. So all the companies go step by step, and it is a duty of the suppliers to configure and create in such a way that this automation, whatever is offered, is in phases and in packages. So that what happens, on the other hand, the initial simple system should have the provision for the total automation, which is the problem now, because if you go for a cheap system, you don't have a provision to automate tomorrow. So then you have to go for a new line. Whereas if you go with any supplier who has knowledge, then you could always have the provision for step-by-step automation. And automation is always friendly and dearly if you plan and if you go by stages. Did I answer you?
Sure.
And the third one, skill. Yeah, skill. See, I tell you, the skill is to do with thinking power of people. Okay. Now, the very concept of thinking that automation kind of affects manpower employment is wrong. Actually, on the other hand, automation gives the dignity for workforce, and they are able to work with their mind and skill rather than working physically, because all monotonous works like material handling, tracking, crane operation, riggers, all those things are accident prone. And it is a great thing that the skill of the people have to be developed rather than physical monotonous work. So in fact, it is the other way. The automation gives the reflex, develops the reflex, and you know, when you have a computer problem, once or twice you solve it, then you become an expert. How is that? Because you develop. So the development need comes when there is automation. If it is going to be a conventional routine system, where is the need for thinking? So that is also the other way. Automation is actually a kind of a guru for everybody to learn further and further. And if Samu has anything to add, Samu?
I'm just conscious, sir, of the time, and I think we're just coming to the conclusion. So I would probably just request Mr. Samu to probably share his views separately. But
Sure.
that's all we have time today in terms of questions from the audience and from the other panelists. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in today, and for the panelists as well. Over to you, sir, for ASSOCHAM to give us the vote of thanks and the concluding remarks.
Right. Thank you, Samir. Thanks for chairing this whole session. On behalf of ASSOCHAM and my personal behalf, it is indeed a great privilege and a pleasure for me to propose a hearty vote of thanks to Mr. Novel, Jessica Steele, Mr. Malik from SAIL, Mr. Jagannathan Rajgopalan, and Mr. Samu from PESMEL, and of course to you, Mr. Bhatnagar. I would like to thank to all panelists for responding favorably to our request for addressing today's webinar. The respective speakers have shed lights on the important issues confronting automation and modern logistics for steel sector in the country. Lastly, I would like to extend a very special thanks to all the respected participants who have very kindly joined us this afternoon to make this webinar a grand success. Thank you very much.
Appreciate.
Thanks,
ASSOCHAM, for all this arrangement.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Thank you.
Bhatnagar, you've done a good job.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure. Thank you so much for your appreciation.
Sure.
Thanks to ASSOCHAM, and have a safe time ahead, and please stay safe and take adequate precautions. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Same to you. Same to you, Samir. Same to you. Right.